All right, are you filming?
Yep.
All right. Everyone, we are at, hi William, we are at the W.E.B. DuBois National Historic Site. And William is thinking that we're taking a picture, but what we're doing is we're actually filming. William, can you say hi?
Hi.
Hi. He's investigating what that is. This is my son, and I'm walking my kids around because I love W.E.B. DuBois, and I'm going to try and keep this as short as possible because we're on William time right now. One of the reasons why I wanted to do a video here is because I was reading The Souls of Black Folks, and something in chapter 2 jumped out at me. W.E.B. Du Bois in chapter 2 is describing what Reconstruction was like after the Civil War and the Freedmen's Bureau. And I think he explains something really relevant that's happening right now. The Freedmen's Bureau collapsed. But before it collapsed, it was granted these huge powers, specifically in 1866. The President Johnson at the time, vetoed the original bill, called it unconstitutional, unnecessary, and extrajudicial. But, it actually overrode a veto and a compromise bill. And after that, these are the powers that was granted, and this is again from The Souls of Black Folks. It authorized additional assistant commissioners, the retention of Army officers mustered out of regular service, the sale of certain forfeited lands to freedmen on nominal terms, the sale of Confederate property for Negro schools, and a wider field of judicial interpretation and cognizance. I think we'll move back a little bit because I don't know that you can, again, I'm not mic'd, so I don't know if you can hear me with all this traffic.
Yeah, sure.
Kind of mindful of the traffic here. The government of the unreconstructed South was thus put very largely in the hands of the Freedmen's Bureau, especially as in many cases the departmental military commander was now made also the assistant commissioner. It was thus that the Freedmen's Bureau became a full-fledged government of men. It made laws, executed them, and interpreted them. It laid and collected taxes, defined and punished crime, maintained and used military force, and dictated such measures as it thought necessary and proper for the accomplishment of its varied ends. So it basically ran the South. And Du Bois is pointing out some problems with this. One of the problems is the abuse of power. This is what he says. The agents that the Bureau could command varied all the way from unselfish philanthropists to narrow-minded busybodies and thieves. And even though it be true that the average was far better than the worst, it was the occasional fly that helped spoil the ointment. All right? So, this is what you have. You have a huge federal government agency that has powers in the military, that is making laws, that is in charge of overseeing those laws. They also have courts. Now, they did a lot of good in a lot of other areas, specifically in literacy. So the Freedmen's Bureau, and Harriet Beecher Stowe was involved in this. I have another video where I'm talking about Harriet Beecher Stowe and literacy. She went to Florida every winter after the Civil War, and she was involved with the Freedmen's Bureau and with education and literacy and trying to educate formerly enslaved Africans. And she also had to tell her friends in the British aristocracy why it was that she wasn't desegregating that attempt. Because there was a lot of violence at the time against any attempt to educate both formerly enslaved Africans and poor white people. One of the things that the Freedmen's Bureau, again, was in charge of, it was in charge of the judiciary. Whoop, William. I'm going to read from The Souls of Black Folks. There were, in 1868, 900 Bureau officials scattered from Washington to Texas, ruling directly and indirectly many millions of men. The deeds of these rulers fall mainly under 7 heads: the relief of physical suffering, the overseeing of the beginnings of free labor, the buying and selling of land, and the establishment of schools, the paying of bounties, the administration of justice, and the financing of all of these activities. He goes on. The most perplexing and least successful part of the Bureau's work lay in the exercise of its judicial functions. The regular Bureau court consisted of one representative of the employer, one of the Negro, and one of the Bureau. If the Bureau could have maintained a perfectly judicial attitude, this arrangement would have been ideal and must in time have gained confidence. But the nature of its other activities and the character of its personnel prejudiced the Bureau in favor of the black litigants and led without doubt to much injustice and annoyance. On the other hand, to leave the Negro in the hands of Southern courts was impossible. In a distracted land where slavery had hardly fallen, to keep the strong from wanton abuse of the weak, and the weak from gloating insolently over the half-shorn strength of the strong, was a thankless, hopeless task. Bureau courts tended to become centers simply for punishing whites, while the regular civil courts tended to become solely institutions for perpetuating the slavery of blacks. Here is what I think is important about this right now today.
Yeah.
You know, I've talked a lot about process when I've been tweeting and things, because I think what's happened in New York recently is it's a little disturbing to me. And what happened on January 6th is disturbing to me. And, you know, the talk of, you know, overthrowing the votes in a free democracy, William, is disturbing to me. And here's where I land on this. You know, with the Freedmen's Bureau, you had very well-intentioned people, you know, favoring all the way on one side, and they had the power to do it, alienating all the way, you know, the people all the way on the other side, you know, and I think what happened was an abuse of power. And I think the way to prevent that abuse of power is process. It is reasonable process. It is restraint. It is slowing everything down. I think, you know, a fair and reasonable process actually protects everybody, you know, from you know, the jealousies of powerful people and the impulsivities that, you know, those jealousies of powerful people in history have sometimes led to. And what I saw in New York and what I've seen on January 6th and what's being talked about right now, hold on a second, sweetie. What's being talked about right now, these aren't good signs for our country. You have to have fair processes, again, because, you know, a fair process helps to protect everything from overthrowing the votes of a free and fair election, either through the mechanics of impeachment or wackiness, and it also helps to protect individuals as well. You know, all individuals want is simple justice. And, you know, I think we're at an inflection point. And I think if we don't have a course correction really soon, this isn't going to be good for our country.
Cool.
Yes?
We're 3 times past the TikTok mark, so...
My daughter was to TikTok. I'm more of a YouTube person.
Okay.
It's all right, honey. I think the content is a little more important than the TikToking.
All right.
I love our country. And so I wanted to bring my kids here read W.E.B. Du Bois. Read all of him, even the parts you don't disagree with, because reading people you don't disagree with is important. You know, keep in mind, we have an awesome country and we need to protect it. All right? I think William has had enough. William, have you had enough? All right. Awesome. Thank you.